All right. I think I'm about as set here as I'm going to get for a spur of the moment, late night live stream here. Let me see. Double check this, double check that, and make sure my cell phone is off, or at least quiet. There we go. All right. Welcome back, everyone. For those out there who are up at this hour, catching me live or on replay later on, if you have nothing better to do with your time, like, oh, I don't know, sleep or a number of other things to do at late night. Let's see. This is well, a little bit of something I'm going to talk about tonight is failed Star Wars projects or Star Wars projects that just never got off the ground. Let me see here. Oops. As I bump into my microphone here. Okay, set that aside. My desk is cluttered. There is stuff all over. There we go. All right, much better. So yeah, this all started with an article I came across earlier today that kind of just got me going down this rabbit hole of Star Wars that never was, or Star Wars projects that never saw the light of day, no matter how cool or interesting they might have been. Let's see. Going to start off here with this is what is this? Cinema Blend. Cinemablend.com, published 3 days ago. The article says Disney's Lucasfilm purchase expanded Star Wars, but the story I want to see the most is still waiting to be told. As the article says, this is a project I have a good feeling about. As we explore the article a little bit more, let's see. A long time ago, let me see if I can increase the. Oh, there we go. That looks a bit better. Long time ago, in a boardroom, probably somewhere in California, Disney purchased Lucasfilm. The 2012 acquisition allowed the world of upcoming Star Wars movies and TV shows to develop into what it is today. Yeah, for better or for worse. Even in the light of that empire building and 11 years after the buyout took place, the story I wanted to see the most and the storied franchise is still waiting to become a reality. We're still missing Del Toro's Hutt family epic. All right, I think I heard about this off and on over the years, but I never really dove into it as a story. I mean, just the thought that Guillermo del Toro doing a Star Wars movie. Oh, I couldn't wrap my mind around that. I wanted to. That was, I mean, to think that Del Toro would do a Star Wars movie, that would have been awesome. Oh, and I see joining us in the chat tonight is Tim the Enchanter. Hello. And Killer Rabbit from Space. Hello there. Thank you for joining me tonight. And anyone lurking out there, come on in. Hang out, chat a bit. So for tonight, as I was saying, tonight's live stream is exploring failed Star Wars projects, or Star Wars projects that might have been interesting at one time but never saw the light of day, never got very far in their development. All this started off when I came across this article about a Hutt film by Guillermo del Toro. I'll just say del Toro because I know I'm probably end up butchering his first name. Let's see, getting back to this article here, a Del Toro, a filmmaker who has a graveyard of unrealized projects that includes a lamentably canceled Silent Hills video game, as well as movies like At the Mountains of Madness. Let's see, that must be a list as long as your arm. Yeah, it could be. And we're all the stuff. We'll get into it. There's some stuff that in here that would have been really fun, and then some stuff that, yeah. But yeah, we'll get into it. It'll be fun. I like Del Toro as a filmmaker. I like a lot of his movies that I've seen. I believe I've enjoyed a great many of them. Let's see. Del Toro had a pitch to tell the story of the Hutt crime family. After reminiscing about this prospect in honor of the Disney Lucasfilm merger's anniversary. It only makes me more upset that it still hasn't happened, and it probably never will. Let's see. What Del Toro wanted to do with his Jabba the Hutt pitch. Picture this: what if The Godfather took place in the Star Wars universe, with the rise and fall of Jabba the Hutt front and center? That's kind of what I've envisioned after reading the pitch he laid out for Collider during a recent screening of Pacific Rim in IMAX 3D. Okay, yeah, that would have been interesting. I mean, it really would have been an interesting opportunity to explore the darker, grittier side of the Star Wars universe. Something we've never really seen before. I mean, even with shows like Andor or maybe some aspects of Mandalorian, there's something about Disney's take on Star Wars that is still kind of sanitized, maybe a little bit clean. Let's see, not very dirty, but not particularly clean. I don't know how to describe it. It's not as dark and gritty as it could have been, but I think that's probably something Disney probably couldn't tackle or wouldn't tackle, or it's probably something that's out of bounds for them, given that they're Disney. So, yeah. Del Toro doing a Star Wars movie for Disney probably wouldn't have not gone over very well, considering what he's done in the past. I don't know if they have like let it go through and given him free reign and been hands off. It's no telling what would have happened. Let's see. Let's see, as the article continues, was it necessary for me to mention the format of the screening? Technically, no. But considering the heyday of the sequel trilogy and spinoffs like Rogue One played in that very sandbox, it only makes me more excited in what could have been. Yeah, this is what I'm going to dig into a little bit. What could have been? Let's see. Judging by the man's track record, Del Toro's Star Wars movie could have been a visually lush adventure in the dark corners of the galaxy far, far away. Naturally, there aren't a lot of details that are available for this project or what it would have entailed. But even with just the basic pitch of Jabba the Hutt and the Hutt's family's history of vile behavior, it's something I think people would have easily watched. Yeah, so much unexplored. Okay, what's this? Del Toro can take the idea to Mel Brooks and make it Pizza the Hut. Yes, yes, yes. Darker, grittier Mel Brooks universe. Yes. Yeah. Let's see. The untitled Star Wars spinoff project got to what I feel is pretty advanced stage. There was a script for the rise and fall of Jabba the Hutt, confirmed by Foundation's David S. Goyer. Wow. During his chat with Happy, Sad, Confused Josh Horowitz, Goyer had two unrealized Star Wars projects that are now floating in corporate controlled space. Uh, Probably a nice way of saying that these will never see the light of day. They will get nowhere. This is surprising. Supposedly, a lot of cool artwork waiting to be protected from the sands of time. The The cause of death for this project, according to David S. Goyer, was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on at Lucasfilm, which again feels like it was a response to the fan pressure exerted after the mixed reaction to Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Yeah, well, I don't want to go on into Disney Star Wars. It's just uh, I don't believe the Star Wars franchise will really go anywhere or really grow until somebody can wrest ownership of it away from Disney. What that looks like, I have no idea. Somebody will have to come in riding a white horse, carrying a very large bag of money to throw it at Disney and say, give us Lucasfilm. And then we might get decent Star Wars back. Let's see. Why I still really want Del Toro to put a stamp on Star Wars. Yeah, I could see that. I think I would want that as well because that could be interesting. It would be a great playground for real experienced directors to tackle, to even adapt some of the novels out there, like what was it? That novel series, Tales from Jabba's Palace or Tales of the Bounty Hunters or something. I forget the exact titles. Let's see. Since Disney bought Lucasfilm, Del Toro's fabled hut isn't a stranger in that respect. At the same time, the concept is one of the things I think the franchise needs to embrace more than it has. It's a non heroic tale that doesn't closely involve the Skywalker saga. Yeah, done right, it would have been a great springboard if they had made this project before The Mandalorian and before the Book of Boba Fett. It would have been a great setup for the darker Star Wars universe, the darker underside of the Star Wars universe, where we could have seen um, bounty hunters like Boba Fett, the Mandalorian. It would have been something different than what Disney gave us. Yeah. Here it is. The Star Wars underworld is still a vast world that hasn't totally been explored in the cinematic or televised corners of this universe, with a lot of those efforts coming from books or video games. However, there's one last hope that I have to express here as I continue to want Disney to move past its own comfort zone and into projects such as these. Disney to move past its own comfort zone. That will never I don't believe that will ever happen. Just given the state of Disney and what they're giving us in the Star Wars universe, that will never happen. It should happen, but Disney will not take a chance on Del Toro and this Jabba the Hutt saga. Let's see. If Del Toro's Jabba the Hutt saga were a hit, it would more than likely need to tie in to both a potential solo sequel as well as the Lando movie Donald Glover is developing. The way I read this is both Solo and Lando would need to be brought up to the level that Del Toro would create, because there is a gulf between what Del Toro would direct and produce and what we would get in a Disney Solo and Lando movie. And that would only help it. That wouldn't hurt it in any way. Let's see. Obviously, Del Toro and David S. Goyer has moved on to other projects in their careers, so this is pretty much dead. This is as dead can be, because we're talking about Disney and Disney Star Wars. This is pretty much everything wrong with Disney. They won't take chances. They won't do anything the fans want. Oh, Disney seems to want to kill the golden goose that is Star Wars. Yes. Yeah, everything they've touched dies. I mean, Star Wars, Marvel, Indiana Jones. Um, yeah, it's what they're doing with Star Wars is not great. So, from this article, pretty much was a springboard for me to dive into this other article here. This is, what is this? GameSpot.com, May 3rd of this year. Every failed or lost Star Wars movie and TV show since the very beginning. Oh, this should be fun. Let me see here. Ah, there we go. Oops. There it is. Try to increase the size of the screen. As this article starts, for many years it seemed like Star Wars just could not fail. And then Disney bought it. Oh, I'm sorry, that's my insertion there. Even giving the meddling responses to the sequel trilogy throughout the 2010s, Star Wars movies have been huge money makers for Lucasfilm, and later Disney. We'll see about that. A shift in the last few years in fan sentiment and a rash of canceled projects, though, has shown us that yes, even the never repeated cultural juggernaut that is Star Wars can hit rough patches, or maybe one giant rough patch known as Disney and their direction. The following list covers every movie or series that we could find that fits those criteria: the canceled, the failed, the forgotten Star Wars projects. Some of these projects were deep into development, with dozens of episodes already written when the axe came down. Some were announced to great fanfare only to disappear from release slates later. The creators behind these projects include George Lucas, Zack Snyder, which I will always have mixed feelings about Zack Snyder. I'm not a Snyder fanboy. I don't particularly dislike his work, but I don't, somewhere in the middle. Some of it I like, some of it I don't like. And even Marvel Studios' Kevin Feige. Check out our list below, which is in no particular order, and decide for yourself if any of these projects rival the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. And right off the bat, we get Star Wars Underworld. Yeah, I'd heard about this off and on over the years. Let's see. Oh, yeah, right there. Star Wars Underworld might be the most influential show that never existed. Back in 2005, George Lucas was still in charge of Star Wars before he sold it to the people he sold it to, and had the idea to bring Star Wars to the small screen as a live-action television show. The project was in development for some time, with over 50 42-minute scripts having been written. Wow. According to producer Rick McCallum, the series would focus on criminal and political power struggles and the period when the Empire is trying to take things over. This would have been a neat tie-in to Del Toro's Jabba the Hutt movie or project. This with the Jabba the Hutt project, that would have been a nice 1-2 punch for exploring the darker side of Star Wars. Let's see. The series was, as you'd expect, very expensive to make, and that kept it from ever reaching full production. Well, we probably could have done it today, and instead of, say, Andor or Book of Boba Fett. But yeah, this is things that never was, things that never happened. Let's see. It's one thing to imagine a story, and another thing entirely to make all the parts needed to bring it to life. It's constant world building. Every ship, every speeder bike, every bit of costuming needs to be created. So it's a huge expense. Oh yeah. This coming from Kathleen Kennedy told Vanity Fair last year. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, we just can't make it. It's too expensive. Besides, we have to channel money into the direct that they're putting out now. And yet, it helped pave the way for shows like The Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, and upcoming Ahsoka. Yay. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the first of this article. We'll come down here. This one I did not know about. This is Star Wars Detours 2012. This was news to me because I was not following Star Wars enough to know about this. This was something created by Seth Green and Matthew Senreich of Robot Chicken fame. They had produced 39 episodes with another 62 scripts written when Disney shelved it indefinitely before any of it aired. Okay, so this is something that was going, that had 39 episodes produced, and then Disney pulled the plug and shelved it. The series was to be a parody show in the vein of the creative duo's other show, but with an eye toward younger audiences. The series was to feature lots of well-known celebrity voices, both from those with previous Star Wars experience and otherwise. Wow. Lucas himself was directly involved, even poking fun at himself by providing some voice work for the show. Huh. Okay. And Green has subsequently said that despite fans calling for the release of the finished episodes, there's no interest within Disney to release the series. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, for what it is, it would probably have a pretty good fan base. But yeah, we're talking Disney here. Moving right along. Oh yeah. This is one I'm not particularly happy about. Rangers of the New Republic. Let's see. For years, though, Disney and Lucasfilm have been trying to tell stories about what happens elsewhere in the galaxy besides guys with laser swords and guys with cool warrior helmets. Oh, I don't like that phrasing. Anyway, the show was announced back in December of 2020. Lucasfilm was pretty cagey about what exactly the show would cover, but there was word that would star Gina Carano and then Paulson Young as Captain Teva and Cara Dune. I like both those characters. I really like Captain Teva. I really like this actor. He was one of the best parts about Ahsoka. He was relatable. He was a way for the audience to get into the show. Maybe one of the few ways the audience could get into that show. But anyway, yeah, getting rid of Gina Carano brought this Rangers of the New Republic to a screeching halt. I mean, that completely derailed it. That and pretty much any plans that anybody had about this series going forward. So yeah, we got less of this and more of Book of Boba Fett, more of Mandalorian season 3, and then Ahsoka. So we could have had something really good, but instead we got mediocrity. But that's just my take on it. Moving right along. Oh, this just looks horrible. This is Jedi Temple Challenge 2020. In June 2020, the still fairly fresh Disney Plus streaming service was in great need of new content from its biggest licenses. And so Disney did what any company would do with a fun kids show like Jedi Temple Challenge, launch it over on YouTube and not make a single mention of it on Disney Plus. I know nothing about this. Jedi Temple Challenge can still be found over on Star Wars Kids YouTube channel, which I'll probably never go over and visit. Show is a Legends of the Hidden Temple style elimination competition show aimed at kids and kids contestants. Yeah, that sounds so dull, and I'm not even going to finish reading that part. Jumping on down here. Oh, of course, they have to mention Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978. All right, what was the name of this article again? Every failed or lost. Okay. So, yeah, this was a failure. This was seen as largely a failure. It was kind of bewildering, especially those of us who were around in 1978 to watch it when it first aired. Oh, I still remember that and still thinking, this is not Star Wars. But anyway, it did give us two good things out of it. We had the first appearance of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian armor in the Star Wars universe. It had some other neat things about it, but yeah, mainly the first appearance of Boba Fett. Let's see, what else is there? We have Rogue Squadron 2020. When Star Wars literature became really big in the 80s and 90s, X-Wing books were a favorite among fans who are more interested in the military aspects of the franchise than in the Skywalkers and the Jedi. The 10 novels, wow, that is impressive. 10 novels followed X-Wing pilots like Wedge Antilles rather than focusing on the more traditional characters. Yeah, I have not read these books, but from what I understand, they were really good. They had a really good fan following. To adapt them to, say, the small screen, that would have been a home run. Let's see. Lucasfilm announced alongside Rangers of the New Republic in 2020 that director Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman would be making a Rogue Squadron movie for the studio. That would have been interesting. Plot details are basically non-existent. Yeah, and it has been shelved. Like all good things that get shelved. All right. The very first thing I thought of when I saw this image is, what in the world is that? And then I looked down and saw Zack Snyder. Okay, yeah. Rebel Moon 2023. Zack Snyder is most associated with DC these days, but at one point he had his eyes on Star Wars sometime between 2005 and 2012. The end of the prequel trilogy and the sale of Lucasfilm to Disney, Snyder pitched a movie to Lucasfilm that was meant to be a more mature take on the Star Wars universe. The pitch never got traction, though, and Snyder would eventually begin working on it as an original science fiction movie not connected to Star Wars in any way. Yeah, I've heard about this. It is the Star Wars that is not Star Wars. Because this image alone, I don't know, that says something like Hellraiser or anything else but Star Wars. But yeah, whatever this thing is, I guess we'll find out when it's released on December 22nd of this year. So, Rebel Moon. Zack Snyder's Star Wars that isn't Star Wars. And we got Obi-Wan. Don't care. Moving right along. Knights of the Old Republic. Let's see. One of the most beloved properties in the Star Wars history is the 2003 video game Knights of the Old Republic. I've heard about it, but never played it. I know it's got a big fan base. Set thousands of years before the Skywalker saga and followed an unnamed Jedi hunting a Sith Lord named Darth Revan. In 2019, Kathleen Kennedy confirmed to MTV News that we are developing something to look at, but right now I have no idea where things might fall. Yeah, well, they fall to the wayside like everything else, but yeah. Wow. Shutter Island and Alita Battle Angel writer reportedly wrote the script for the first potential trilogy. Oh, that would have been awesome. Yep. Things we just won't see. Moving right along. Number 10. A whole bunch of Star Wars spin-off movies. Oh, oh yes. This article mentions Benioff and Weiss. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay. That looks like the end of this article. Moving right along, I came across the Screen Rant. Similar. There's going to be some overlap with properties here, or projects rather. This is Screen Rant, October 20th, 2023. Every unmade and canceled Star Wars movie and TV show and why they didn't happen. Throughout the history of Star Wars, there have been various movies that were planned and ultimately never saw the light. Here's every one of them. Star Wars franchise has had numerous unmade and canceled projects across both TV and film. George Lucas originally had plans for a sequel trilogy. That would have included elements such as Luke becoming a Jedi Knight, Han Solo's death, and Leia being elected queen of her people. Let's dive into this article a little bit. George Lucas's episodes 7, 8, and 9. All right, I read a little bit about his ideas for his sequel trilogy, and some of it was out there. But of course, we'll never hear any of that. This will never see the light of day unless something major happens at Disney and Lucasfilm is sold to somebody who will do something with some of these properties. And so we've got George Lucas's sequel trilogy that will never come to pass. We have Colin Trevorrow's Episode 9, Star Wars Duel of the Fates. See, in August 2015, Disney announced that Colin Trevorrow had joined Star Wars Episode 9 as director. However, the filmmaker dropped out of the project in August 2017, citing creative differences. Yeah, I can understand that. Creative differences as a reason for his departure, which was later reported to be due to Trevorrow's failure to deliver a satisfactory script. Somehow I doubt that. Somehow I kind of read this as him delivering a script, but the bigwigs at Disney just not taking a liking to it. So he left, and we got what we got. Let's see. The original Star Wars prequels. Producer Gary Cutts has shared that Lucas had plans for a prequel trilogy before the original trilogy was completed. Cutts shared the basic idea Lucas had for the prequels. Apparently, Lucas intended for the 3 Star Wars prequel films to deal with the Clone Wars and the formation of the Jedi Knights. In the end, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, revealed that Jedi Order was already established centuries-old organization. The ideas for the prequels also changed for several reasons. One was the difficulty and stress that came from finalizing the original trilogy, which put an end to all prequel plans. Okay, yeah, I can understand this one. The technological advances in CGI filmmaking allowed Lucas to bring something much bigger to the screen. So yeah, things change, which is understandable. Looking back at it now, the prequels that we got weren't really that bad. I mean, in comparison to what Disney is giving us, the prequels are gold. Boba Fett's solo Star Wars movie. Oh, yes. I remember this one. This was announced to be in development in 2013 with Josh Trank as director. Also leaving the project due to creative differences. Is there like a little trend here that Disney hires people, then they leave due to creative differences? Yeah. Let's see. The studio tried to save the project. but had been canceled. This led to refocusing of Star Wars through Disney Plus and the production of The Mandalorian. Yeah. They had Mandalorian, which was good, had a good start, and it kind of dribbled off into what we got. And then they gave us Book of Boba Fett. All right. Moss Eisley Spaceport movie. Back in 2018, I had absolutely no idea about this. There were various reports of a Mos Eisley movie being part of a planned anthology movies. I don't know about this. If they had said Tales from Jabba's Palace or The Bounty Hunters or whatever, it would have worked. But Mos Eisley? Yeah, I don't get that. Splinter and the Mind's Eye. Now, this one, I remember reading about this years ago. I have the novel. I have a graphic novel based on the novel. This was pretty good. Splendor of the Mind's Eye. At one point, Lucas wasn't sure how audience would. Lucas wasn't sure of how audiences would react to Star Wars. As a contingency, he had a backup plan in case the film turned out to be a major flop. Author Alan Dean Foster was brought in to write the novelization of the first Star Wars movie and a second book titled Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I may actually go back and reread that novel. I like Alan Dean Foster as a writer, so yeah, I might make some time to go back and reread that. This was done so that Lucas could adapt the story as a low-budget sequel should the initial Star Wars fail to spawn a franchise. Well, fortunately, it didn't fail because it was one of the best things in cinema in the past, 50 years, 100 years? I would still like to see some kind of adaptation of Splinter of the Mind's Eye, even if it would be like I hate to use the word multiverse, or maybe something akin to DC's Elseworlds, an alternative Star Wars universe, like DC has their Elseworlds line of comic book characters, because this is a very different take on the characters, which would be kind of fun to see. If not on the big screen, maybe a 8 or 10 episode miniseries. Oh, here we go. Had to hit the cough button there. Yeah. This was a big laugh. Benioff and Weiss, they're failed. I wonder if their botching of Game of Thrones had anything to do with them losing favor at Lucasfilm. I mean, to this day, if you want to talk about something that just dropped off a cliff, the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, yeah. Talk about awful. Game of Thrones showrunners at one time, Benioff and Weiss, joined the Star Wars universe in 2018, and we haven't heard from them since. Actually, I'm not even going to waste any more time on that. Here we have Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. Again, there is some crossover between the other article. We have Kevin Feige's Star Wars movies that will probably never get made. Yay, Damon Lindelof's Ray Palpatine film. Another film planned by Lucasfilm was reportedly a story I cannot speak. Another film planned by Lucasfilm was reportedly a story set after the sequels, focusing on cardboard cutout character Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order. Yeah, I just don't care. I don't care about anything they have to do with this character or anything they try to connect to the sequel trilogy. I mean, honestly, the best thing out of these articles I've seen so far is just talking about Guillermo del Toro being connected to the Star Wars universe. Talk about mind blowing if they had actually pulled that off. Oh yeah, this is actually good. This is Star Wars Underworld. Like I said before, uh, Del Toro's Hunt crime family project and George Lucas's Star Wars Underworld. That would have been a great 1-2 punch to really get into the darker, grittier side of Star Wars. But it's something that we fans will probably just never see. And then Rangers of the New Republic. This is what I like to call wasted potential. I mean, if you want to talk 1, 2, and then 3, these would have been 3 great spin-off projects for Star Wars. In a perfect world, we would have had Del Toro doing his take on Jabba the Hutt. We would have had Star Wars Underworld. We would have had Rangers of the New Republic, and then we would have had The Mandalorian, and then we would have had maybe Book of Boba Fett or something. Talk about wasted potential. I mean, this, as I tap my desk here in frustration, I'm not mad. It's just disappointing. It's disappointing what Disney has done to Star Wars. Oh, and I look over in the chat and I see the Padawannabe. Hello, thank you for joining me tonight. Rangers, I was so looking forward to that one. Yes. Yes, there was so much I was looking forward to Star Wars, well, namely Star Wars being good, but instead we're getting mediocrity. I mean, we could have had Del Toro's Rise and Fall of Jabba the Hutt, exploring the darker, grittier side of the Star Wars universe. We could have had that continued on with Star Wars Underworld. We could have had those two tied into The Mandalorian. We could have had all 3 of those tied into Boba Fett. We could have had all those tied into the Rangers of the New Republic. There's wasted opportunities. Instead, we get dribble like Obi-Wan. We get crap like Book of Boba Fett. We get Andor. We get Ahsoka. Yeah, you can just tell the frustration that's in my voice from reading these articles about what could have been. But no, Disney's got their little comfort zone, got their own things they want to push. Obi-Wan is like, yeah. All right. The last article of the evening I'm going to touch on is going into the Star Wars that's not Star Wars. This freaky looking character that is somehow tied to Rebel Moon. This is, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at Polygon.com, August 22nd of this year. Rebel Moon is meant to be Zack Snyder's Star Wars and an ultimate vindication. As we get this freakish image staring us right in the face. Snyder and his partners discussed the project's origins and how it found its own footing. I gotta say, it's probably going to be original, and it's probably going to be, it might be a decent sci-fi entry. But yeah, Star Wars that isn't Star Wars. Honestly, the first thing I thought of when I saw this image was Farscape. I don't know anything about this character or what this alien is supposed to be, but I see this and I think Farscape. This character could have stepped out of episode of Farscape. From the moment Zack Snyder's ambitious Netflix space opera, Rebel Moon, was first announced, one aspect of its backstory has earned more attention than anything else. The film began as a Star Wars pitch. Yeah. Oh, what's this? Padawannabe saying War of the Stars, Rebel Moons. Yes. Yep. Or Zack Snyder's Last Laugh, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes over. Let's see. Skipping this. The idea of making a Star Wars movie based on Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Yeah, when I read about this earlier, I read the idea and the pitch behind it. And I thought, that's been done before. Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven, maybe a handful of other movies and TV shows and anime that all borrowed from that theme. That movie, which has been remade and reimagined dozens of times over, as everything from a 1960s Western, Magnificent Seven, to a Pixar's A Bug's Life. But the pitch, which eventually made its way to Lucasfilm, was never developed for many reasons. One being Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012 and everything falling off a cliff after that. And that Brass's approach to the franchise. The theatrical Star Wars movies has largely been involved around legacy characters and how they can screw them over. Oh, sorry, that was my outside voice. But Snyder's plan involved an entirely fresh cast with no relationship to past Star Wars protagonists. When Lucasfilm's plan for a sequel trilogy fell into place, Snyder's movie disappeared from any future planning boards. But that may have been for the better. Yeah, it's probably better. Not a big Zack Snyder fan, but he could do better than Disney, honestly. Him moving away from Disney was probably a good step for him career-wise. I mean, this gave him more flexibility to develop his idea into his own franchise. Rebel Moon. I mean, it's out there. We've seen the trailer, whatever. It's been discussed over and over again. I don't know. Uh, I hope he does well with it. I'm wishing him well. It's going to be on Netflix. We have, what is this? I think I read part one was going to be in December, and then part two of this will be later. Let's see. It is going to be darker and grittier than Disney Star Wars, as this both parts of Rebel Moon are getting R-rated extended cuts, which will be more than 30 minutes longer than the film. So yeah, we're going to have Zack Snyder extended cuts. Let's see. Is it going to get PG-13 release on Netflix? I'm guessing. Okay, this was a part that I was kind of that kind of caught my interest. Control is the theme of Snyder's career. I can't help myself, he admitted. I was always inspired by movies like Brazil. Okay, he dropped Brazil. Brazil is one of my favorite movies. I'm quite pleased to see him drop Brazil or mention it as a influence. There's a great history of director's cuts. It's like another movie to discover. There's this other tug, Rabbit Holes. It's amazing for me with my drawings. There ends up being a lot of that to tell a deeper dive story. Okay. That's Sam talking about director's cuts. So, yeah, we're probably going to get an initial release of Rebel Moon. It's probably going to do pretty well. I mean, of all, I'm not a very big fan of Zack Snyder. There might be one or two movies of his that I've really enjoyed, but it's not his DC stuff. But, more power to him. He left Disney. He made a pitch to Disney. They rejected it. I just spurred him on to do his own thing, to develop his own idea. So, yeah, more power to him. Let's see. Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire, is scheduled for release on Netflix December 22nd, with Part 2 scheduled for April 19th of next year. Now, good luck. I hope he does well with it. I haven't really formed an opinion of Rebel Moon. I haven't really seen that much of it. It looks interesting from what visuals I've seen of it. It does look interesting. Oh, what's this? As Padawannabe says, strange. Many of the old, edgy, and inspired directors and writers never used to want to be part of the big picture films. Now it seems like that's all they want to do. Please, can I do your idea my way? Yeah, yeah. Uh, Snyder's involvement, anything Star Wars, Del Toro's involvement, anything Star Wars. Those are very odd to contemplate. But yeah, oh, what's this? Rebel Moon looks better than Dune to me. I'm running away now. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like Dune, but yeah, I'm going to wait and see. I'm cautiously optimistic about Rebel Moon. I want to see what the second part of Dune will look like. There's enough room out there for me to enjoy both of them as they are for what they are. So yeah, Rebel Moon, the next part of Dune to come out. Yeah, yeah. The sci-fi universe out there is big enough for both of them. But yeah, it's just interesting that all these big name directors and creators wanted to be attached to uh, Disney Star Wars. I'm sorry, but Del Toro, he's bigger than Disney, in my opinion. He's done a lot of movies that I've really enjoyed. So it's like I'm kind of glad nothing happened with Disney and him. It's like, uh, come on, Del Toro, you've got a great career. At this point, Disney Star Wars is almost a step down for him, given what he's done. And I'll be generous and say Zack Snyder. It's Disney Star Wars is kind of a step down for him as well. Um, no, go out there, do your own thing, no matter how freakish it looks. It will be something new and original. I mean, we could either have Zack Snyder, Star Wars, but instead we got Obi-Wan. We could have had Knights of the Old Republic, but instead we got Andor and Ahsoka. So yeah, Disney Star Wars is a mess. These creatives out there wanting to be a part of it, it's probably a good turn for their careers that they're doing their own thing. That Del Toro's moving on to something else. Zack Snyder's doing his own thing. Yeah. What time is it? Yeah, it's getting along in the wee hours of the morning, and I've been rambling on here for well over an hour. I've covered the articles I've wanted to cover. I just wanted to come on and chat about a bit about these things. Star Wars that never was. It's kind of interesting and frustrating at the same time. Star Wars that could have been. Star Wars that we fans never got. So, let me see here. Who joined us tonight? Tim the Enchanter. Before I close out, I want to shout out everyone out there. Thanks for joining me. Tim the Enchanter. Killer Rabbit from Space. And of course, Padawannabe. Thank you all for joining me tonight, whether you joined in the chat or you're just out there lurking. Got here late. Oh, that's no problem. Thanks for joining me. It's cool to see you here. Be sure to catch the replay, catch it from the beginning. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. I'm starting to find myself dragging a bit, so yeah, I'm going to call it. This has killed my it's doing a job on my insomnia. So yeah, I'm going to end it here. Thank you all for joining me. Until next time, everyone, good night. And until next time, life is too short for bad entertainment. Don't hate watch something. Go watch something or read something you enjoy. I'll leave you with that. Until next time, everyone. Later.